I'm really excited to get the chance to introduce to you Dr. Dillon Huffer. He is my chiropractor, my family's chiropractor actually, and my extended chiropractor now. And I sought out chiropractic care as part of everything that I was doing for my health when I needed to balance my hormones. So I was really excited that Dr. Huffer came on to this summit and is willing to lend his expertise and input here. So I wanted to ask you, Dr. Huffer, kind of some of our summit is going through the phase of life as young girls are transitioning into beginning to cycle, which is not an easy thing. I think that's a myth. Women think that when you start cycling, it's just bang on and the body knows immediately how to do that. It doesn't. It isn't perfect right away. But from that phase through those early years, and then we're going to talk about the years when we can be fertile, we are fertile, and then we get to choose what we want to do with our bodies then. And then into our saging years. Some people call it the crone years. I'm not partial to that. It's hard to embrace them the way we need to, and we call them crone. But there are, I call 3 separate clean slates. As women, we get to, we have an extra detox channel, and we have these 3 perfect clean slate moments in our life if we're taking care of our body appropriately, where we get to do something different. We have a whole new phase of our hormones. Starting with the first part of our life as young girls, what are some of the most common things that you'll see that maybe is surprising to people that a chiropractor can address?
Yeah, well, and I think it's important to first off mention that, ultimately there's nothing wrong with our bodies. You're not coming in here for us to fix you. I think we were innately and amazingly designed by His image, and I think it's important for people to understand that we just want to be a facilitator to allow your body to best heal, self-regulate, and self-maintain. But I guess going back to your point is to, a lot of times we'll see, prepubescent girls that come in and they start to experience symptoms such as severe migraines, headaches, just very heavy periods. And I think that's is taking a step back and okay, why is the body responding this way? And really getting to the root cause of the condition that the clients are experiencing. And then as you evolve into your fertile years and your 20 to 30 range, and just a lot of mothers come in also. They don't put themselves first in their family. They always put themselves last, and I think it's important for them
small
to,
symptoms wind up becoming much bigger issues.
Absolutely.
Because they don't come in and address it when it's in terms of an adjustment to come in. And I have caught myself so many times. I know now that the first symptom of something, I could go get an adjustment. My nerves aren't talking appropriately. My body isn't working the way it needs to be flowing hormonally and circulatory wise. And I don't come in and deal with it right then because I have to take care of this for my kids or I have to do that. Right. And so that one, if you can imagine like a river, it has one rock and the water goes around it a little bit as it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, and it compounds.
Then you get new rivers trying to go around, and that's kind of the way the nervous system is. It wants to go down the main channel.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I just want to be a facilitator, a part of that healing process for women, and because they don't put themselves first, they always put their families first. But then even infertility, just again, not that I am claiming to cure infertility by any means. I just look to the spine to
It's
remove.
an important part.
It is. It
of
really
balancing.
is. Yep. And so looking well to the spine, like a great philosopher Hippocrates told us, is look well to the spine for disease. And We're a firm believer in just removing that interference to help facilitate that natural design, like we were designed, and just removing interference from within that, so that our body can properly adapt to the everyday stressors that we live in on a daily basis. Because it's no secret that we are under an inundated amount of stress in our society today. So, and I think it's even more so important nowadays than ever before to help your autonomic nervous system regulate more effectively and efficiently.
We don't use our bodies the way that they were designed to stay talking. Now we've got a lot of crimping because we sit, we drive. We're abusing ourselves in ways that we weren't doing when we first came out of the factory.
Right.
And now we need that support. I think you mentioned heavy bleeding, and this is something that people wind up having unnecessary surgeries over, and they don't know that a simple change in how their nervous system is communicating to the body can change how that, it doesn't make sense, I think, to most people. Well, I mean, heavy bleeding it's my uterus. It has nothing to do with my spine. Actually, there's a big thing. We can impact the thyroid, which leads into heavy bleeding, and we can impact the nerves and the circulation. I mean, when you get pinched off, stuff doesn't flow right.
And I think a lot of people forget that, you know, the only organ in our body that's encased in bone is our nervous system, and nobody takes care of it. You know, a majority of our society, they just look past it.
And we don't talk about it.
Right, and people take better care of their teeth than they do their spine, which that's all fine and well, but very important, intricate organ of our body that we really got to just think about taking care of and addressing. So I think it's important that people, you know, especially women and mothers, take care of themselves, because they always put themselves last. And I think it's a testament to Dawn and what she's doing for the community, is just reaching out to women to better empower them and then empower them on their health journey. So that's amazing.
One of the things that sticks out to me, especially as I've gone through all phases, but the menopausal phase, so I can speak with authenticity to most of this. But during pregnancy, I talk a lot about, I can give you plants that can help rebalance your hormones. I can help you with digestion. There's food, and all of these things we need to be thinking about. But if you have a structural issue, if you have something that is literally bone or nerve out of place, things won't work right. And you can eat healthy all day long, and you can take every herb and supplement under the sun, but if you have a structural impairment, there's an issue.
And because at the end of the day, you can't assimilate those herbs or supplements that you are providing yourselves effectively if you're chronically stuck in that fight or flight sympathetic dominant state. And that just suppresses your parasympathetic, and your parasympathetic, what do we know that to be? Resting, digestion, our healing, and our immunity. But if we're so far out of balance, going back to that stress that we're constantly under, we got to bring that back to balance to create equilibrium in our overall health and well-being.
One of the structural things that are so clear to me to have a direct relation to unnecessary surgeries would then be the Webster technique in pregnancy. So a lot of women wind up, we've got an extremely high C-section rate in our country for a lot of reasons. But I was just speaking this past week with a woman who had a C-section because her daughter wasn't dropping, wasn't turning. And I hear this over and over and over again. And Aiden wasn't turning. Well, he would turn, but then he would pop back up. And you see that a lot where head down, but oops, nope. And I was planning on a home birth. And that's one of those things that kind of clear you to be able to do that without issue is the baby has turned. You need to be head down and down on the cervix. And babies pop up. And a lot of women don't know that that's because their hips are out of alignment. And if your hips are out of alignment, our hormones are intended to allow those hips to widen, to let that baby drop down in when it's supposed to.
Like it should.
And that facilitates a proper, safe, fluid birth. But if your hips are off, they won't open up. And so not only do you have a baby that won't drop down in, but then you go into labor like that, and most women are laying on their back fighting gravity to begin with, and if you've got a pelvis that's off too, C-section. There's just you're not going to be able to
and then it's
avoid
convenient
it.
for that.
It's very convenient.
And it's just so convenient. It's like, oh, let's just kind of do a C-section. Oh darn, and I can, it's just so going back to that. Going back to the Webster technique and what we utilize here is. Our whole focus is creating more space, right? Opening that pelvis to give that baby plenty, ample amount of room to be able to flip and turn and descend the way it was designed, right?
Yeah, there's a perfect design. We're designed to be able to birth babies.
Yeah, not on our backs.
On our backs.
And then giving Pitocin, and then that's like a 30-pound weight going on the baby's head, and then it's like, oh, then you gotta do all these things.
But all the things that happen beforehand of the lack of proper care and proper nutrition and not seeing practitioners that can ensure that things are developing the way they're supposed to, not just for baby. We monitor the baby to see if it's developing correctly. We don't monitor mom to see if her hormones are causing the hips to do what they need to do, and everything's there so that birth happens. It's the popular saying, failure to plan is planning to fail.
Exactly.
Birth is medicalized in this country because if you don't allow it to proceed as it is naturally designed, then it's not working correctly already.
You cannot negotiate with nature.
No.
In the end, it always prevails.
And birth is hard. Even
is.
when everything is working correctly, it's a hard job.
Yep. So being proactive and preventative and taking those measures to best facilitate that birthing process is so important when it comes to when we utilize the Webster technique in here.
So the Webster technique, I know that a lot of folks get really scared, especially if they're new to chiropractic. Oh, well, the last time I would go see a chiropractor is when I'm pregnant. I'm certainly not going to let somebody crack my back while I'm pregnant. Tell me a little bit about what that's like. What is the Webster technique about?
So number one, it focuses on balancing the pelvis, again, to create that ample space for the baby to move. But then we also incorporate a lot of muscle and ligament,
round ligament pain, ladies.
Pubic pain, and do a lot of tonal work when it comes to balancing the pelvic floor, right? Getting the muscle tone, because it suddenly gets proper blood flow. Yeah, right, exactly. So, even if you have a pelvis that's contorted this way, and then you got the round ligaments up this way, so then when you do have those contractions, things are coming this way, but it should be going down like this, and creating that good symmetry to descend the baby down in that vaginal canal. So there's a multitude of things, but we kind of on that same point, we not only utilize Webster technique, we do a neuro-emotional tonal technique as well. For those ladies that are, oh my gosh, I'm very apprehensive about the manual adjustment. So we do from craniosacral work, we do craniofacial work. So well versed in a multitude of techniques to best facilitate the comfort of the patient and get them the results that they're looking for. Yeah,
you shouldn't have an adjustment by just anybody when you're pregnant. Obviously, it needs to be somebody who does understand how to facilitate specifically during pregnancy, but it certainly doesn't need to be anything that's unsafe at all. To that, kind of to take us into the menopausal phase, we start to have a lot of problems with fragility of bones, joints that no longer are getting proper fluid, they're not getting blood flow, they're not staying lubricated. We start into arthritis and all of that. I know my own mother was apprehensive about coming in for care because she had had an injury to her neck, and she was concerned. She's always been worried that a chiropractic adjustment would just finish her off. She almost had thought she should have broken her neck in a swimming pool when she was a kid, and chiropractic would just do her in, and she's now so fragile. You see a lot of elderly patients and are able to make big changes for them too.
Yeah, and I think it's important though, as we go through that process of life, right? Again, we're so quick to neglect our spine and our nervous system, and then when you do have that those you go to the doctor and I'm having this pain. Well, it's arthritis. Okay, then what? They give you nothing to do, a muscle relaxer.
Here's your label,
right,
and
exactly.
go home.
And there's just nothing, and it's just I scratch my head at that because there's so much that can be done for that person. There's so much to increase their quality of life.
Pain does not have to be your new normal.
Exactly, and so if I don't hear it, and I hear this so many times in a day, oh, I wish I would have known sooner. I wish I would have known sooner. I would have done something for my family. But going back to that aging process, yes, there's arthritis that ensues, and it's a matter of why is that arthritis or that bone spurring or the fusion naturally taking place? What's lack of motion? Motion is life. We reestablish the proper biomechanics of the spine to reestablish that, to rehydrate that, give that nutrients in that disc to build that back up and get it off of that degenerative path, thus in turn reversing the degenerative process and creating new life in that segment that's fusing together essentially.
Yeah, you don't have to have that predetermined path of going into having your spine surgically fused because there's nothing else you can do.
Exactly.
Tell me about some of the things that you see in menopausal women that are struggling with symptoms that, how about like hot flashes?
Oh yeah. I would say, a lot of them would be hot flashes, constipation, overall digestive issues. Trying to think of what else we see.
Well, I'll bring up one that you hear often, and it's just a fact of life. There is a concern about libido. Actually, that starts long before we get into menopause. We hear from a lot of women. If you don't have blood flow to your pelvis, this is the same with men. We hear a lot of erectile dysfunction issues. If you don't have blood flow to your pelvis, you aren't going to be able to have the fullness of enjoyment of your relationship with your partner as you were designed.
Absolutely.
Movement is life. Your circulation is life, and the ability for your hormones to move appropriately. So there's a lot there's dryness that happens naturally as we age, but it does not have to be the way that it has been. A lot of it is simply from you just have a structural anomaly that isn't allowing things to flow properly. You're not getting blood flow.
And along with that is facilitating the body with the appropriate nutrition as well, and so there's the things that can be done for that in that realm. And so
now you guys have here in your office, you have access to a nutritionist on staff as well. So I think that's one thing that I like about always go for a holistic practice that isn't just interested in the quintessential chiropractic cliche is I'm going to push on your back really hard and whatever snaps, let's hope that's what's going to fix you. Somebody who isolates, I know that you are very specific in what's going on with you, which is half the battle. You want to know how we are first. Look for a chiropractor that's going to ask what's going on with you right now. You usually ask things beyond, do you have pain? Is your shoulder hurting? You're asking, are you
emotionally
things.
Feeling?
Right.
And we talk a lot about, the 3 T's is what we like to call them in here, are the causes of subluxation or misalignments within your spine. And those 3 T's comprise of, what are we thinking about? Our thoughts and emotions. Traumas, kind of an obvious one. From micro traumas, posture, looking down at the phone all day, sitting at a desk, or macro traumas if you're a wrestler or a football player, car accidents, things like that. Toxicity, that's another big one that we also discuss in here. Medications, vaccination injured, or the pesticides, herbicides sprayed on our foods. All of those things, they compound. And so there's a hypothetical analogy that we like to use in here. Is your bucket full today? Is your bucket overflowing? How are the 3 T's in your life? Are you keeping them in check? or are they overflowing? When they start overflowing, then comes the symptoms. Let's take a assessment of that bucket and let's clean some things up. Let's get your spine in a line. Let's get your brain and body communicating effectively so that you can function optimally.
And having access to either a chiropractor that works with other modalities, people that they reach out to, because we can't know everything, and having people on staff that are doing different angles of nutrition and supplements and the actual manipulation, and you do cranial sacral and the emotional work. That talks about a practitioner who cares about the entire person, instead of just let's hope this movement is going to fix everything. That's a mistake that we're making in a lot of
and I
Western
think at
medicine.
the end of the day, our mission is just to empower individuals to take their ordinary life to extraordinary, right? And to, again, to just tap into the perfection from within, right? And to be a facilitator, a part of that process. So, we're also looking into some different new regenerative therapies as well. And I know our other office in Jackson Center, they offer some regenerative therapies as well. And so we're looking at incorporating some things like that here to test your HRV, thermal insight scan. So there's just things like that at the end of the day, I just want to help people become empowered. And I think that's the main thing, is just in tapping into other professionals that want to do just that and not become so narrow-minded on, no, it has to be this way, but no, let's look up and open up ourselves to other entities like what you do. And I think it's great what you do. And this is just a great opportunity. So
it's awesome to see. I know there's a lot of that's going to come through in this summit, is looking at, you don't know who might be able to help you unless you're introduced to what they do. I did not know how a chiropractor could help me until I learned that they were there and what they did. And I didn't know, I had no idea about pelvic visceral massage, which is something that we'll be talking about. All of these modalities are out there, but it feels like we have to kind of struggle to find them these days.
Yeah.
And once we find them, you can put this all together to make a picture that is really it's a complete healing picture, instead of just a managing my symptoms picture. Is there anything else that you would want to tell?
No, I think we covered a lot, and a lot more than I expected. But this has been great. I'm very passionate about speaking what we do here at Huffer Chiropractic, and I'm looking forward to the symposium and helping women just becoming more in the know. And because the more you know, the better you do. And the better you do, the better you can serve your families, friends, and our society as a whole. Because if anything, the past 3-4 years that we've learned anything, is that you really can't go get it from a traditional doctor, sadly.
You can't.
Sometimes you can.
They have their place, and it's
Yep.
important to understand
100%.
that's the thing. We have to understand where we can get different kinds of help. And if I fall down and break my arm, I know I'm going to the hospital for an x-ray. But I know where else I'm going to get other help. And I think right now people don't know where they can get other help. So they just keep going back to the doctor and hoping maybe it'll be a different answer.
Yep. So.
This summit was born from what I went through, where I didn't know. I didn't realize all the things that I didn't know. And I've been sharing as we come up to this summit, sort of like, what you don't know can hurt you. And it did me. I could have lived a much more vibrant and vital younger years, and I could have avoided the imbalances that I went through if I had known what I knew once I got into problems before. And this summit is about just what you said. People come in here all the time and say, oh, I wish I'd known before. That's the crime. We are robbing people of all of those years when they could have known a simple, easy fix and how to tune into themselves, and that they can be empowered to know their bodies and find balance, because we are perfectly designed and we are designed to heal. So the true crime is all the years that we lose. So let's not lose any more. Let's get in front of it. Let's empower young women and young men so that they can start to know these things before they get off the track. If we can start to dial this back and get all the way back to where before we're even birthing children, we will have really saved humanity. I know, big world peace statement there, but don't think about, don't be that person that is 20 more years down the road and I wish if only I'd known, I could have lived without all the pain, or I could still have my uterus, or I could still have my gallbladder. Plug in and hopefully we're able to put a lot of people in front of you in this summit to start your curiosity and find some answers.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you at the summit. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.